Hey guys, it's Julie, designer with the Quilted Cow, and today's tutorial is on the Wicked Cool Bag. Before I begin, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grid Rulers, Mats and Rotary Cutters, and Wilmington Prints. Let's begin. The Wicked Cool Bag is one of my absolutely favorite new bags from the Quilted Cow. This bag turns into a crossbody. It's a shoulder bag. You can turn it into a backpack. And my favorite part is it's a cooler. So you can keep all your picnic snacks in here. You can put your 6-pack of sodas or whatever else and take it with you anywhere you want to go. Camping, hiking, floating, anywhere. You can put liquid vinyl inside to keep it waterproof. You can put liquid vinyl outside to help keep it waterproof while floating. Absolutely perfect kit. You can find this kit and pattern at our website at thequiltedcow.com or on our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Let's begin with the first steps. So our first step is we are going to attach our main fabric onto our foam interfacing. And then we're going to quilt it as we desire. So for this, I'm just going to do some simple lines on the machine. And once you have all of your main pieces quilted how you like, we're just going to set the whole pile aside. So you should have a front, a back, 2 sides, and a bottom or a base to your bag. The next step we're going to do is the tabs. We're going to start with our D-ring tabs. So your D-ring is your smallest square tab or rectangle tab. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half so it's right sides together. And we're going to stitch this on our machine. Once you have the sides stitched, we are going to turn it. My absolute favorite tool to do that is this tube turner. It's my favorite new accessory that we offer. So you just put your fabric over your plastic part of your tube and you take the point or the wood turner and use it to push through. Now you can push it all the way through your tube turner, either way. And then you just poke it out. Best and fastest way to turn tubes. You're going to repeat this step for all of your other D-ring tabs. And once you get them all made, we're going to turn it so that our seam is in the center. And then we are just going to press it so it lays nice and flat. Once you have all 4 of your D-ring tabs top stitched, what we're going to do next is we are just going to take the seam side up and we are going to slide our D-ring right through there. Fold it in half. You can use pins or clips to hold it together if you want to. And then we're going to go back to our machine and we're going to stitch right along this edge as close to the D-ring as we can get just to hold it so it's nice and secure while we continue working. After you have all 4 of your D-rings completely assembled, it's time to apply them to the back of our bag. So pick whichever one of your main fabrics you want to use as the back. And then it's time to apply these. The D-ring tabs are going to go down towards the bottom, 1 inch from the bottom edge. So what you want to do is just take your clear ruler. I'm going to use this little 3.5 from Creative Grids. It's one of my absolute favorites. I have one next to every sewing machine I use. It's nice and little and convenient. So I'm just made some marks, 1 inch from the bottom, and this is where I'm going to base stitch my D-rings. So I'm going to place one on the right and one on the left, and I'm just going to base stitch these in place. Once you have the back parts done on for your D-rings, the other 2 D-rings you have left will go on the sides of your fabric. So you want to find the top of your fabric and just make a mark right in the middle. And this is where we're just going to base stitch our D-ring right in the center to hold it nice and secure. You'll repeat that for both of your sides. And now you have all of your D-rings assembled and applied. The next thing we're going to do is the exterior back tabs. So that'll be your larger rectangle. We are going to make a tube just like we did on the D-rings. Fold it in half right sides together, lining up this long raw edge. But before we do that, we need to press these ends in because it will be a finished edge. And once we have this pressed, we're going to fold it in half just like we did with our D-rings, matching up that long raw edge, and we're going to step to our machine and sew this. I'm going to once again use my tube turner to turn this the right side out. Now once I have it completely turned, I'm going to repeat the same process I did for the D-rings, and I'm just going to press it flat and top stitch the edges. You repeat that for both of your back tabs. And once you have those completed, we are going to attach them to the back of the bag. You want to take your nice little Creative Grids ruler. We are going to measure in from the side. So we're going to measure 2 1/4 inches in from the side and down from the bottom. So I'm just going to line this up. And I'm going to make a little mark right here. I'm going to repeat those same steps right here on this other side. And then what you want to do is draw a 1-inch line going across your fabric towards the center. So you should have little lines right there. You don't have to, but I just feel like it makes it easier to line these up. So if your fabric is directional like mine is, you want to make sure that you have it facing the correct direction, and you're just going to center it right here by this mark. And then we're just going to stitch a row across the top and the bottom of this to secure it right onto the bag. Make sure that you leave the center completely unsewn because that's where we're going to need it for our strap later. So now the back of your bag should look like this. It should have D-rings at the bottom and back tabs at the top. Make sure that you can stick your fingers through there because we'll need those for the straps. Now we're going to set this aside and we're going to work on our pocket for the front of our bag. That's going to be from your lining fabric. And what we need to do is to just fold this in half, right sides together. We are going to be folding these raw edges, these short raw edges, under. And I always match my fabric here when I do it, just so I know my ends are the same. And then we're just going to press those. We need to step to our machine and sew these side edges. Leave this top fold unsewn for now. Once you have your sides both sewn, we're going to turn our pocket right side out, and let's press out our corners so we get nice sharp pocket edges. Perfect. I use this teal thingy. It's one of my favorites for so many different uses. Once we have our corners poked out, we are going to press this so it's nice and crisp before we attach it to our fabric. So this pocket is going to go on the front part of our bag. We've already put tabs all over the back, so you want to find your other large piece, and it's going to be on this one that the pocket goes. You can place your pocket anywhere you'd like. I am going to follow the directions for mine, and I'm going to place it 4 inches from the top and centered 2 1/4 inches from each side. Just going to double check all my measurements on this side. Once you have your pocket centered, we're going to stitch it in place. To do that, we're going to sew down one side, across these folds at the bottom, and then back up the other side. If you want to top stitch the top of your pocket, now's the time to do it before we start stitching. I'm going to pull mine back off after I make some marks. And I'm going to top stitch this top edge right where my fold is. Now that it's top stitched, I'm going to stitch the sides and across the bottom. Let's step to the machine and attach this. Once you have your pocket applied, it's time to assemble our bag. So we're going to take our exterior, front and back, and then we're going to take the bottom, which is your smallest rectangle. Now to do these, we are going to place them right sides together along this bottom edge. And when we sew, we're going to leave a 1/4 inch at both the beginning and the end. Please make sure you're back stitching on this. So let's assemble the exterior of our bag. Okay, once I have the first side done, I'm going to do the same thing. My front, I'm going to make sure that my pocket is facing the correct direction. And I'm just going to line it up right on this bottom edge. Once again, leaving a 1/4 inch at the beginning and the end and back stitching. Okay, now your kit should look like this. You should have the back and the bottom and the front. The next thing we need to do is to add our sides on. So it doesn't matter which one you do this on, if you do it on the front or the back part. I typically do the back just to secure these D-rings in because they kind of get in the way. So you're going to make sure your D-ring's at the top and place it near the top edge. Now when we sew these top sides, we are going to start all the way at the edge of our fabric and back stitch, stopping a 1/4 inch from this bottom edge. We're going to do both the sides and then we'll finish assembling our bag. Once you get your sides attached, your project should look like this. 2 sides and a back or a front, your bottom, and then your top. So the next step for us to do it is we are going to assemble this part of our bag. To do that, you're going to match up this side with your side seams, and you're going to pin or clip these into place. Then you want to step to your machine and sew your side edge, and then we're going to come back and we're going to sew across this bottom edge. And you're going to repeat this step for both sides. So side edge first, and then you'll catch this bottom edge. When you do your bottom edge, sew all the way from the one side to the other. This will catch all those 1/4 inch seams that we've been leaving out. Once you have all of your seams sewn, you should have a square that looks very similar to this. You shouldn't have caught all of your foam in your edges. It makes it a lot smoother when you do end up turning it. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to take all of our lining pieces and repeat this whole process again to assemble the sides and bottom and front and back. So you have your pieces, you have your front, your back, your sides, and then your bottom. We're going to assemble it the exact same way we did with our main, except for when we first do this, we want to leave 6 or 7 inches right in the center so that we can turn it the right side out. Let's step to our machine and start sewing. Okay, once you have your lining all completely assembled, it should look just like your main. What we're going to do next is assemble our zipper. So let's set our main and our lining aside and we'll use those later. So for your zipper, you should have pieces that have Insulbrite on them for the inside, and you should have pieces that have lightweight on them for the outside. So what we're going to do is first is we are going to trim our zipper. You want to move your zipper pull right towards the center, just so you make sure you're not cutting it off. We're going to measure over, so our zipper is exactly 10 inches. I always start on the end that's open first, and then I'll cut off the other end, because then I don't have to hold anything together while I'm working. Once you have your zipper trimmed to the correct length, it's time to add the tabs. So you want to start with one of the main fabrics on the top and one of the lining fabrics on the bottom. And you're just going to sandwich your zipper right in the center. Let's step to our machines and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch, and then we'll come back and repeat it for the other end. Once you have your zipper tabs assembled on the ends, the next step is we're going to pull this fabric away from our zipper, and we're going to use our iron and press it so it's nice and even, and then go back and give it a top stitch. So I'm just going to make sure that my seam is nice and even there and press right along the edge. Now let's top stitch a 1/4 inch right from where our seam was, right from where we've turned it. After we have it top stitched, what we're going to do next is trim our tabs so they're even with the edges of our zipper. So you just want to line up your ruler so it matches the zipper edge, and then just cut off the sides. And you're going to do this on all 4 sides. So both sides on top and both sides on bottom. This helps to reduce bulk at the end of your zippers. So the next thing we want to do is to assemble the sides of our zipper to finish forming the top piece. So you want to take your one exterior fabric and lay it right on the top edge, and you'll take one of your lining or interior fabrics and lay it underneath. You want to make sure that your zipper is centered in the center. So your tabs should be even on both the right and the left sides. Now you can move this zipper pull out of your way if you'd like, but it should be good right where it's at. And then make sure that everything is lined up nice and even on both your edges. I'm going to throw some clips to hold everything in place. And then we're going to step to our machine and sew this. Once you have one side sewn, we're just going to press this away from our zipper's edge and then put a top stitch right in this nice side. And then we're going to repeat those exact same steps to attach the other side of our zipper. So for the other side, we're just going to make sure that the top edge is right at the top. Make sure your right and lefts all align. Then we are going to layer this top exterior fabric. Put some clips in it to hold it while you sew. Once again, just finger press away, and then we're going to top stitch this edge as well. Once you have the top of your fabric all assembled, what we're going to do next is to trim off these extra tabs at the end. So just take your little cutter and just trim these off right so they're nice and even with the edges. Now, if your edges are not even, go ahead and trim them up so they are. So the top of your bag should look like this, and this should be the lining. So this next step is where everybody seems to struggle. So it's the assembly of the bag. I know we did it a little bit different, but I promise it is way easier than it would have been the other directions. We tried many different ways to get this done, and this is the fastest and easiest to do. So you want to make sure that you have some pins or clips ready because you are definitely going to need them. So you want to take your lining of your bag, the exterior of your bag, and both of them should still be wrong side out. So I'm going to start with the exterior of my bag first. I'm going to place the top so my exteriors all line up right there so they're right sides together. I'm going to start with one long edge and just pin or clip it all the way across, making sure that your ends line up with where your seams were. So you should have one side completely held in place with some clips or pins. Next, we're going to turn it and pull it out so we can line up the other long side to our bag. And we're going to clip and pin that to hold it right in place. So the exterior of our bag should look like this. Both the long edges are pinned or clipped, and the sides or the short ends are still left open. We're going to come back and finish those once we've done the edges. So once we have the exterior done, we're going to take the interior or the lining and we're going to match up these raw edges. So think about it like putting on a hat or peanut butter and jelly right in the center. So you're going to match your edges right in the corner and work your way all the way down, adding your lining into these exact same clips we've already used. So everyone's project should look like this. Your exterior, your zippers are on the inside, and then you have your interior. We're going to go to our sewing machine and sew these. To do that, you want to fold your project or your bag so it looks a little like a butterfly, and just squish it so it's flat. We're going to sew one long edge at a time, and then we'll come back and hit those short ends. Once you have one side completely sewn, you're just going to open it back up and fold it so the other side is now being sewn. So just squish it so it's nice and flat, however you need to do to get it under your machine, and then we're going to stitch this other long edge. Okay, so when you open it back up, you should have the exterior, your zippers should be sewn in place, and you should have your interior. Now let's work on sewing these short ends. I never even pin this step because it just goes together super easy. So you just want to put your finger in and pull the edges apart, lining everything up so it's nice and even. And then we're going to step to our machine and stitch across these short ends. Now to do that, you're going to do the same thing. Just fold this all out of your way. Folds nice and flat and fits right under your machine. Once you have your first short edge done, we're just going to completely turn our project over and line up the second edge. Once again, just stick your fingers in, make sure your corners are nice and even, make sure your edges get lined up, and you're going to repeat the same thing, pulling the lining up right to the edge. And then just squish it so it lays nice and flat. This will be the final seam along this top edge. Now that you have all 4 of your edges completely sewn together, what we're going to do next is turn it right side out. So to do that, you want to take the opening that you left in your lining and just reach in. We're just going to reach our arm all the way in and grab the bottom of this fabric and pull it up into the lining. And then we're going to wiggle it out through this hole. Be careful not to stretch out your lining fabric. So take it a little slower until you get it all turned right side out. Once you have your kit completely right side out, we're going to just go in and press out all of our corners, making sure everything is nice and secured. Now this is the step that if you've missed any seams or any corners to go back and fix now. After all of that is double checked, you want to sew this turn opening closed. So what you're going to do is just wiggle it so you can get these edges folded under. Now you can lay this out on your pressing table or on your mat and press it so it's nice and flat. And then we're just going to tuck this edge under and go to our machine and sew it. Once you have your turn opening closed, you're just going to press your lining inside of your bag. Once again, make sure everything's nice and flat and even. Your zipper top should be nice and square right on this top edge. Poke out your corners once you get your lining all adjusted. Now your bag's complete. The final step we need to do is to make our straps to completely finish our bag. So once you are ready to do your straps, you want to take your fabrics and we're going to sew them together on a 45-degree angle. It really just helps to keep it less bulky. If you're not comfortable sewing it on a 45-degree angle, just sew it end to end. It's not the end of the world. So to do this, I'm going to leave my salvages on just because it makes it easier for me to see where I'm going. I'm going to lay my fabrics in an L shape, right sides together. I'm going to take my ruler and match up right where these fabrics meet on both corners and draw a line. So I'm going to match up right where they meet and draw a line right on my fabric. Now before I move this, I'm going to throw some pins just to hold it in place while I'm sewing and to make sure I keep that angle correct. So everyone's fabric should look like this. We're going to step to our machine and sew right on the line we drew. And then we're going to trim a 1/4 inch away from the line. Once we have this trimmed, we are ready to press our fabric. So to do this 45-degree angle, we're just going to press it so our seams are open, keeps it nice and flat, which is the whole purpose in doing this seam. Once we have our seams pressed open, it's time to apply our interfacing. Now, depending on the length of your interfacing, it could be 20 inches, it could be 60 inches. It really just depends on what interfacing you have. So we're going to take our lightweight and lay it out on our mat so it's bumpy side up. And we're just going to line up our fabric right on top of it. And we are going to apply this the entire length of our fabric. Once you get to the end of your interfacing, we are just going to attach the other piece right on top of it. So to do that, you just layer it so it's overlapping in the center, and then we're just going to turn it over and continue pressing. Once you make it to the end, we're just going to trim off our salvages, and whatever extra interfacing that you have just hanging off the end, we're going to trim that off as well. But once we get it all assembled, we'll trim it down to the correct length we need for everybody's. So once we have our salvages all trimmed off, we are going to start pressing our fabric all the way from one end to the other. We do this just like we do all of our other straps. So we're going to fold this in half and press to find that center crease, working our way all the way down the length of this strap material. Once you've made it all the way to the end and your fabric's completely folded in half, we're going to start over at the beginning, and we're going to open this up and fold our raw edges to that center crease. So your raw edges are folded to your center crease. You're going to refold it and press your strap. You definitely want to put some pins or clips in to hold this folded while you work your way down the entire length of the strap. Once you've made it to the other end and your strap is completely pressed, we're going to step to our machine and we're going to sew an 1/8 inch down both of these long edges. So let's step to our machine and sew. Once you have both of your edges completely top stitched, the next part is we are going to trim our strap to the proper length. If you would like your strap just to be a little bit longer, go longer. If you need it shorter, go shorter. We are going to start by trimming this to 70 inches. So I'm going to just start by cleaning up this end. Once I have one end completely nice and cleaned up, I'm just going to start my measurements there. So now I have my strap trimmed to the proper length. The next step we're going to do is add hardware. Now, if your kit did not come with the fabric to make this strap, you get to skip that whole last step and just use your webbing and then skip all the way to this hardware section. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start by taking your slider. We're going to put our slider up from the top and down and around. So that way our top edge or our fold is on the top. So from the bottom, over the top, and back down. Now, once we have it completely looped through that center bar, we're just going to fold our raw edge under and we're going to match it up with our fabric. And we're going to sew this together to keep this part nice and secure. So we're going to go through and add 2 stitches right across here just for extra stability. Make sure you leave enough room that it's not going to get caught under your needle. Okay, once you have your slider part attached, we are going to slide all the way to the unsewn end and add a swivel hook onto this. So we're just going to slide it through here and pull it so it's all the way back towards the slider bar. We're going to go up from our slider and then down on the other side. This is what's going to make it so you can adjust your straps to whichever style you want to wear. Now you can pull this as large or as small as you'd like, but you do want to make sure that your fabric is not twisted. So if it comes and it's twisted here at the end, you just need to take it out of the slider bar and we're going to thread it through again. And now it should be nice and flat and even. Now we have our one swivel and our slider attached. Let's attach our other slider or our other swivel bar. So you want to make sure that your buckle is facing up and you want to put it so your hook is facing up. Now we're going to turn it over, fold over our raw end like we did with our slider bar, and we're going to add a double stitch here as well because there is nothing worse than having your strap break on your bag. So let's go through and we'll add 2 stitches right through here to secure this. Now you have your strap completely finished. It should have swivel hooks on the end and a slider bar somewhere near the middle, somewhere on the inside. Now to wear this bag, you have multiple choices. So my favorite way to wear it is as a backpack. Now to do the backpack version, you want to stretch your slider bar as far out as possible. And then you can adjust it back smaller if you need to. So you want to put your bag so it's bottom side up, or we're going to take our swivel and we're going to slide it through these tabs we put on the top of the bag. So now you have it completely slid through. And then you're just going to attach it here to these bottom D-rings. This is going to support a lot of weight. And now it's a cute backpack. This is easy to go hiking with. It's super easy to carry a lot of stuff. So you guys can find this kit on our website at thequiltedcow.com or on our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Please like and subscribe for more tutorials, and thanks for watching.
Okay, you wicked cool quilters, good job. You made it to the end. We would like to thank our sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grids, rulers, rotary cutters, and mats, and Wilmington Prints for the beautiful fabrics. Thanks for watching.